Hi, everyone. Welcome back to X Raised, where knowledge meets inspiration in the intricate dance of industry evolution. I'm your host, Miles, thanking you for making us your go to space for conversations with the people shaping the future of business, leadership, and innovation. Now, if you're a regular here, you'll know we often feature Ian Erskine, but while he's been traveling, we've got someone equally brilliant stepping in. And if you've seen him before, you'll know he doesn't just talk change, he makes it happen. Our guest today has built a career around helping businesses navigate change, align their teams, simplify complexity, and prepare for sustainable growth, always with a focus on one key outcome: preparing people to succeed. Joining us today is an international business leader, change management consultant, innovator, and mentor at ACI Global and e-Quip, Marcus Batten. Hi, Marcus. How are you? Good
Good day,
morning.
Miles. How are you? Good, thank you.
Good morning to you. Welcome back to our show. Thank you so much, Marcus, for being here so we can talk about and build on what Ian mentioned in our previous chat, a topic that really underpins the way organizations future proof their talent. So it's cognitive thinking and its role in people development. So when most people think about developing employees, they go straight to skills training or maybe technical competencies, but ACI Global emphasizes cognitive thinking as a deeper driver of professional growth. Why do you see it combined with tools like your Hogan personality profiling as so powerful in shaping someone's potential?
I think the ideal place is that the human intelligence, the person, has either a capability or an ability to um, be attentive, attentive to things and issues happening, have memory and reasoning for what they're storing in their own brains.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and the individual can better understand and interact with the world. A trained individual can better then deal with changes and challenges that occur. And that's all based on that cognitive thinking, um, because it involves the mental processes of acquiring something, organizing that thing in their brains based on where they group it or place it,
Mm-hmm.
and using that knowledge to enable learning for situations and environments, learning of how they dealt with it, lessons they learned, and they build that up over time as they experience things. So with the human intelligence, it's when they're young, giving them opportunity to grow and develop, have build their cognition, recognition, abilities to
Yeah.
see things, react to them, engage, and do stuff. Now, when they first do things, they've got to have an environment that allows them to make mistakes, that allows them to learn from those mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
obviously under a sense of control and regulation in some respects, because you don't want a total disaster happening. But when you're young, you want to have the opportunity to have a go at things, use your cognition, and cognition is different right across people.
Yeah.
You can't standardize on a cognitive capability and assume everyone can get to that.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, there is intelligence and then there is lack of intelligence.
Right. And that's
And when you're
what makes
bringing
us human.
what makes us human, and there's intelligence in terms of environment and circumstance. Some people are better off machines. Some people are better just on machines. They can't be used anywhere else.
Mm.
Some people are better at a mix of different situations. Some people are very good in certain environments. And if you can early on, as an individual, identify where your capability lies, become cognizant of what you are good at, and then develop that and accept that capability within yourself, that's a
Mhm.
massive benefit to you.
Yeah.
And and then obviously with organizations understanding the capabilities and cognitive requirements of the person going into that role and
Mhm.
defining the role based on those capabilities, and then looking at people who've got the ability to be cognizant in that role. And it's going to be different every time. You can't standardize and assume everyone's the same.
Mhm.
But a mixture of experience, the human capability in the person to be cognizant in certain areas.
Yeah.
Some people are fantastic cooks and chefs,
Mm-hmm.
and they can operate in a kitchen really well because that environment allows them to be cognitive in there. So you have to look at the environments you're intending to put your people in, your teams, your leadership in, and framework all of that. And that's what we do a hell of a lot of, and we're having to realistically awaken people to that reality. It's not something that's listed in a certificate.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have a degree, they must be good at everything. Well, no, someone that has a degree hasn't got any practical capability.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that really
You have,
resonates.
well,
You're,
you have to give them a year and a half in the field,
mm-hmm.
becoming engaged with whatever they go into. They can't, just because they have a degree, be assumed that they're, I was going to say God's gift, but that's not true. They just have a degree. That's it.
Yeah.
And then
And
the organization taking them on has to know how to introduce a graduate.
uh-huh. And
But that, you know,
skills or our skills can get outdated. I mean, with a rapid change, but how someone thinks and adapts, especially when matched with personal insights and capabilities, as you've said,
yes,
really last. It's almost like, I was thinking of upgrading the OS or the operating system rather than just the
yes,
apps. I mean, it's a holistic approach. And
so right, yes,
measuring, yeah, and measuring thinking is not easy. We know that. It's not something you can exactly put into, say, a spreadsheet. Traditional performance reviews often miss the bigger picture. So, my question is, how does ACI Global actually help organizations measure or maybe recognize this cognitive capacity in practice? But I know your framework uses Hogan 360, right?
yes,
360
yes.
degree appraisals and links candidate CPD directly to the organization's capability goals. So, can you please explain how that all comes together, Marcus?
Well, first of all, we bring together a professional leadership development program as an example, and models and frameworks, and we talk to the organization and get an understanding of where they're at today,
Uh-huh.
and we try and framework an environment to encapsulate the company's current perception of roles and what they've got. Having understood that, then it's a matter of building up the skills gaps and understanding those. Not being critical and nasty, but just saying there are realistic skill gaps. And also in a typical career. And as an example, a tradesperson, a
Uh-huh.
carpenter. Um, we used to, many years ago, be able to generically lay out the next 20 years for a carpenter's career if a carpenter stayed in that career. And
Uh-huh.
it wasn't dependent on IT and all that stuff. It was the trade of carpentry.
Okay.
So you lay that out. You then also, then in that generic structure, have rough areas where at this point in time, you can choose if you want to go and do a degree,
Okay.
do a diploma in something more, or do a leadership course.
Mm-hmm.
So you're a carpenter who's able to have through life career transitions. And all those we're bringing back are generic structures and forms. Unfortunately, over many years, we've allowed SWAT courses and money-making schemes to take over structural generic career development programs, which are really having to come back in
Uh-huh.
and framework organizations. So as an example, in certain areas, families that used to know they had a factory nearby knew that they could allow their children to become welders, carpenters, trades,
Uh-huh.
professionals. If they were perceived to be able to go and do a degree, they could choose to do a degree and go to a university.
Mm-hmm.
But the local environment of being a good manufacturing area, you'd have the families all around that factory nudging and getting trades training so they could go into the factory as part of their career.
Mm-hmm.
We've destroyed, in the last 20 odd years, we've destroyed that development of cognition recognition in the towns and the villages
Uh-huh.
to make indirect profits over here somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And what we've got to do as a country is bring that all back together. So ACI looks at frameworking, skills gaps, competency requirements,
Mm-hmm.
frameworks for that, and professional programs over years that an individual can look at, a company can look at for a role.
Mm-hmm.
So they can have that person in that role for 2 or 3 years,
Uh-huh.
have a choice that maybe 2 years out, they might show leadership potential.
Progress.
So, yes, so do you have in place as an organization generic steps where you can bring in a leadership course for 4 of your people?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Not go out and look in the market and recruit more people,
Mm-hmm.
but give succession planning in your organization for your current team.
Current
And
people.
then bring juniors in underneath that as you build your experienced team up,
Mm-hmm.
and have a path for it to grow in your organization.
Mm-hmm.
And
Really?
that's quite, people seem to have forgotten about that plan. And the last 25 years, with consultancy companies taking over, if you have an organization that's competent in its own right to build succession planning,
Uh-huh.
you don't need as much external consultancy support.
Makes sense.
So that became unpopular in the last 25 years because consultancies wouldn't be able to sell as much work.
Mm-hmm.
And the big corporations have got to rebuild succession planning. And Ian and I call it success planning.
Okay.
So the old succession planning now is success planning. If you have a model that give your juniors as they come into your organization a chance to grow,
Mm-hmm.
and
Within the organization.
yes, and it's all based around the cognitive those people and having frameworks to recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
And some people would love to go up here.
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, your capability is at this level.
Mm-hmm.
And we're happy with what you're doing, but you might need to do a couple of courses like this.
Right.
But there may be a thing where
For you to reach this level.
you're not going to be able to go there because
Mm-hmm.
you are capable to a certain level.
Mm-hmm.
And
Really?
and one thing that I as a junior manager, I always remember going to a company, and because I'd been hit at a certain point with this, got to keep on promoting yourself mentality, I'd forgotten about you need people in your company who've been 30 years in that role.
Yeah, same seat.
Who've been capable for that role because they are the experience, they are the credible level in your business.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they don't want to promote themselves anywhere else. You know, if I've got 4 competent welders who can weld stuff for me,
Mm-hmm.
who are cognitive about how to do a welding job,
Mm-hmm. Right.
then I have to recognize as an organization, I need those sort of people.
Mm-hmm. Makes
Not
sense.
just keep churning my business because I want to keep on looking trendy.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that in Australia about the local governments not having the basic core skills that used to be there 30 years ago.
Oh, okay.
But they've got younger people with a few degrees coming out, not understanding how a waterfall actually works to flood a house.
Yeah, I know.
and we, the owners
Very
of the house,
familiar.
having to tell
Yeah.
the people how
Mm-hmm.
to do their job because they don't have capability in their heads through experience. And the older people who've got that field activity experience, cognizance of the field activity,
Mm-hmm.
aren't being kept in these organizations anymore.
Yeah, what a timely analogy. Really interesting. Instead of,
So I think cognition and recognition of capability in the whole framework of succession planning
uh-huh.
is vital for organizations today.
Mm-hmm.
So ACI, that's what we're hoping to build in organizations, is that reinforce the capability that is in an organization.
Mm-hmm. Instead of
Okay.
reviewing people in isolation, you're connecting their
Absolutely.
growth with
Yeah.
the organization's bigger picture.
Yes, and teaching team leaders to be able to continually evaluate their team,
Right.
not in terms of persecution and scaring people because they've made a mistake this week, but
Mm-hmm.
having an awareness of the cognitive capability, the delivery capability of their people, which goes up and down over time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if your leaders aren't able to be aware and recognize where their team is at a point in time and do corrective action,
Mm-hmm.
corrective training, we've become a lot more, because we have spreadsheets and databases, we've become a lot more of a persecutive type set of organizations now. We persecute by IT because you
Uh-huh.
haven't filled in the database correctly.
Uh-huh. You know
Well,
that,
I prefer good outcomes
yeah,
because of
of course.
capability, and yes, clean up the database later.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're persecuting based on that first, you're going to stop the outcome happening.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
And
recognition of, yeah.
yeah. Uh-huh. And that
I hope
feels
that makes
more,
sense. Yes.
yeah, and that feels more sustainable, Marcus, and motivating than the usual tick box reviews, and a lot
Yes,
closer to reality than most evaluation systems, I guess.
absolutely. Because the world, unfortunately, and obviously from a money point of view, you want to do your balance sheets every 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
But real time, day to day leadership and management, cognition of what's going on, is
Mm-hmm.
not an inherent thing in the financial environment, because financial worlds build 3 monthly reports, quarterly reports after the event.
Mm-hmm.
So we want more building of teams in real time, on the ground management. Again, cognitive,
Mm-hmm.
able to see, feel, touch, build, give advice, lead. And leadership, again, isn't administration or management.
Uh-huh.
So the other thing we don't want to do is have lots of people who are great admin people and immediately think they can lead stuff. Well, no, they can fill a database in on a computer, great.
Mm-hmm.
That
Those
doesn't
are
make you a
two
leader.
different things.
Absolutely, absolutely. And cognitive behaviors, a leader will have a different set of cognitive behaviors to an administrator.
Mm-hmm.
An
Yeah.
administrator is fantastic,
Yeah.
but that's where they're good. And it's recognizing reality of where things are. And some people, we used to have some funny things to try and wake that up in people. Um, but it's bringing the feeling of the business out,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
yeah.
building on that, and building on that, and having containment and management tools that don't allow a feral salesperson to go too far off in the wrong direction,
Mm-hmm.
and overcommit your business to something you can't do.
Of course. Yeah.
And have the front end that's looking for business cognitive and involved, providing feedback and getting real answers from the business back to them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all those mechanics. Each group has a different cognitive layer.
Yes. They have
And we at
different
ACI,
unique
we
skill
look
sets.
for that. Yes, we look for that, and we try and framework it. So the business can start really using its own core capability,
Uh-huh.
and not dreamtime capability. I mean, there's where I'd like to be in terms of
Yeah.
cognition, but let's find out first what your real capability is today.
Like, let's
And
filter it out first before we
yes, and let's
decide where
build
you
from
really.
that up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And what we try and do is go for consultative dream time,
Uh-huh.
which is nice for a vision, but I'm here today and this is my team.
This is reality.
This is reality.
Uh-huh.
And often with the whole process with businesses, I use my old Navy days thing. And when we were young, we were suddenly told, and we were all sort of gung-ho idiots, but what are the priorities? To fight, to move, or to float? And of
Mm-hmm.
course, as young people, you've got to be able to fight, get in there. And you go, no, first you've got to float.
Okay.
Can I see if you're floating as a business? Are you there in your environment? Are you understanding, cognitive of what's happening. Are you engaged or disengaged?
Yeah.
So first, that's how we do it. We look at the business, we look at the person, and and see where they want to be, what they want to do, and where they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you know what your current capability is, what your current capacity is to do things, what your ability is to recognize and see and be cognitive of stuff,
Uh-huh.
then
I
you're supposedly stable. You're floating,
Uh-huh.
right?
You're telling me right now that once that cognitive capacity and the personality profile are clear and recognized, Marcus, so this is how you see it shaping pathways ahead.
Yes, yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Okay.
And
Right.
and 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 you're absolutely right, because you've got to look at what you have in real space. And then the other part is to, over here, separate from the reality of the business, is build your plan with the same mentality. So here you're saying, well, my vision is I want to get to this. My layout of people is this. My model for what I want to achieve and what I want to do
Mm-hmm.
needs to look something possibly like this. And you on a whiteboard, in framework, you physically, as humans together, build the framework for the vision.
Mm-hmm.
You build the framework for the today situation of the business.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put a plan in place to say, well, how are we going to go from this to that?
Uh-huh. Right.
And we're not dreaming or making anything up. And is the gap too big,
Mm-hmm.
in our first pass? Or if it's too big, let's bring it back a little bit and see
Yeah. Adjust.
how we move and adjust. And
Mm-hmm.
so cognition, recognition of current capability, recognition of what we think it will take to get to that
Uh-huh.
vision, and then understanding and ownership in a plan, which you then have to build engagement, alignment, and direction to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not cognitive of how to build direction, engagement, and alignment, at ACI, we can help you with that as
Yeah.
well, and getting the frameworks in place, and not limiting things. Or if you've got like software systems, this is just literally post-it notes and a whiteboard in a room with the
Uh-huh.
senior leadership to start with.
Uh-huh. Right.
And no matter what that happens to be, it could be the team leader and 4 assistant leaders. And
Mm-hmm.
that little group, you get them into a room and you paste through all the ideas.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then once they've done that, they've all got the same cognitive alignment to go and achieve their goals.
Yeah.
And then you regularly check that every week or every the daily activities. You have a plan to just daily chat and
Mm-hmm.
make sure you're all on alignment. But the human to human thing is really important in achieving.
Human to human thing. Yes.
And in COVID, we lost a lot of that.
Mhm.
We've had a generation of people go through thinking you can do everything by Teams or Zoom or remotely.
Mhm.
Um,
Like what we're doing right
and
now.
and we're having lots of the fact that we have meetings apparently is performance, and that is totally wrong. During COVID, I'd never in my life had 16 meetings a day.
Wow,
Yeah,
16.
in 16 on Teams and Zoom and all that stuff.
Okay.
Normally, at most, you have 4 or 5 a day, at most,
Uh-huh.
in the normal world.
Yes.
But a lot of people have been groomed in just sitting into lots of online meetings,
One after the other, or
one
maybe
after the other. Yeah,
even overlapping.
absolutely, absolutely. And the cognition in terms of meeting volumes
Mhm.
is identifying. And I had this, I remember, with a marketing director of mine who came in saying, "Oh, boss, I've got 60 meetings a week. I can't handle it. I'm stressed."
Of
And I
course.
brought in a
I can
framework
imagine.
for the business. I brought in a
Mm-hmm.
framework for business. And it's a logical structure. I reduced his 60 down to 5.
Okay.
By basically structuring across all my business, people who needed to be responsible and accountable went to direct meetings. People who
Mm-hmm.
were involved with that, but they were all service providers, influencers, and veto people, they just needed to be BCC'd.
Uh-huh.
They didn't need to be at the meetings just
Right.
because they're in the team.
Mm-hmm.
So bringing that discipline of cutting out just being at meetings for the sake of it
Yeah. So
doesn't
this
mean
is
anything constructive.
so this is how your capability framework guide
Yes,
learning journeys and career
yes,
opportunities. So people are
yes,
trained and developed in ways that align with both their strengths and the
absolutely.
organization's direction.
So it's recognition of the right cognitive behavior to have in the meeting,
Uh-huh.
the right intuitive and so effectively subject matter experts,
Yeah.
influencer, communicator, and manager. Those
Mm-hmm.
are the only three people you need in a regular meeting: the
Yeah,
subject
right.
matter expert, the communicator, and the manager.
Mm-hmm.
Then they
And
can BCC everyone else, and
mm-hmm.
then it's up to the others to have read the memo.
Right. Minutes of the meetings.
Yeah, yeah. So reducing the meeting levels
Yeah. And
and
it's not just about
uh,
filling today's roles, but
yes,
maybe mapping out tomorrow's leaders by aligning how people think with where the business is actually heading.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely, and then giving them positive news
Uh-huh.
and the right news delivered in the right way
Mm-hmm.
motivates different layers of cognitive behavior. If
Right.
they're getting the right feedback, their cognition can be used in the right channels.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want them to think they have to be that for everything in around them.
Yeah. And using
Yeah,
their strengths where they're really
really needed, and
yeah, and they're excellent at.
where their strengths can be used properly,
Mm-hmm.
and they
Efficient.
get a feeling of contribution
Mm-hmm. Right.
and engagement, involvement as well.
Yes. But let's face it, Marcus, leaders often want quick wins. Deep development takes patience, especially when we're talking about thinking styles. So, Marcus, how do you help organizations strike that balance between meeting immediate business needs and making those long-term investments in people's cognitive growth?
Well, I think to start with, it's to get the leadership team together
Uh-huh.
and get them to be able to communicate the view, the vision, the mentality of where they want to go, and be able to define it very simply on paper.
Yeah, the common
Um,
goal.
yeah, from goals and from and then it's a matter of saying, well, to get there, how do you propose to build that team? What is it you're proposing? And quite often they haven't thought about that part.
Uh-huh.
So the first aspect is obviously to see the team you have. What have you got today? And what are their roles and responsibilities? What do they get tasked to do? And what are the outcomes expected of them? And again, the two words recognition and cognition. So recognition of current capability
Mm-hmm.
and understanding what that cognitive behavior is typically with today's situation.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're going to go into this vision and we'll need possibly this generic structure of a team with these capabilities of people who have capability, capacity, cognitive behavior, skill sets generically defined. And that's the other important thing. Being able to initially generically define something is better than being specific, because once you get people and you align them generically to something,
Mm-hmm.
you start, if you've got cognitive behavior in leadership, you start to look at then environment and situation and events and have a capability to watch that
Uh-huh.
and see the application of that person with that cognitive behavior and capability achieving this outcome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. We need more of that.
That's the
So you
ideal.
learn from seeing that capability in the field. And I used to say in the field, because when you're out of the office and you're out applying yourself, what is the real capability and cognitive ability of those individuals? And you learn that over time. And cognition changes with stress, with situational change. There's a great thing that we teach people about is situational leadership.
Okay.
Leadership changes based on situation.
Yes, there's a lot of factors to consider.
Absolutely. And some people are very good in that situation. Some people are terrible in other situations. That doesn't mean they're a bad worker. It's just if you know their capability and their ability to apply recognition, cognition, understanding of the environment they're in, and they're able to work and process and achieve outcomes in that area, then you need to make sure that you understand that and you know that, and you apply them to the right environment and situations. So someone that's recognized as just, they're not being terrible, they're just capabilities here, here, and here. If their flexibility isn't high, don't be silly and throw them at something you know very well they can't achieve. And then because they can't achieve it, don't go beating them up because they haven't achieved it. You as a leader need to be aware of your team's capability. You need to be cognizant of capability of your own team and not throw them at things when you realistically look at it, you know they could never achieve. Because if they fail because of your leadership throwing them at things that you know damn well they can't do, that's your problem, not theirs.
Yeah, right. And
so we bring those understandings, I guess, of agile and innovative cultures, environments, that you can't blame your worker because of your lack of capability as a leader or team leader or CEO of understanding the real differences in people. And if you sit there hiding behind online reporting systems to persecute as a leader, then you're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah. And
that does make me a horrible person if I say that. But realistically, if you're a leader, you should know how to lead people.
Of course.
So agility, flexibility, ability to listen to what's presented to you, not get upset because you're not being given the information you want to hear.
Yeah, I remember Ian mentioned that you have to have an open mind and
yes.
This attitude of trying to accept what the other idea is, not because from the very beginning you don't like his or her idea doesn't mean that it's not good for the organization, right?
Yes. And a lot of people want to hear it because it's going to get their bonus happening. Yeah, and that seems to be a bigger driver than just saying you want to hear something that's gone wrong. You want to listen to it. You want to then have all the avenues of contact come to you about that. And then obviously cognition goes in and you recognize what the situation is. You then can communicate with your team, interact with them, and as a team be seen as cognitive in how you deal with a situation or a response. So you want the people doing the work for you to be seen as capable and in control of the event they're running. But we tend to, because it's I'm seeing a lot more of this now. We're seeing a lot more people more worried about inputting into a system. You can have a massive disaster going on, and as you know, it's cognizant of where I am with some of the things in the recent storms, where everything's flooding all around you, and the people who are meant to deal with it are more interested in you filling out a data form to say how well they're doing. And you're going, hang on, I don't want to know about any of that. If you're engaged in something, you're being cognizant of what's going on. You understand what the situation is. You then, out of cognitive behavior, want to be able to build assurance that you're progressing reassurance that you're correcting action. And that's all based on listening, seeing, and understanding what's going on. And a lot of that is missing. And at ACI, we can help people take a deep breath, stop, look, listen, turn around, and apply cognition of what's going on, not trying to make up what they see. And the other thing is people look, but they don't communicate factually what they see. They then interpret it and then communicate an interpretation of what they've seen.
Yeah.
So then the next tier doesn't get the right feedback up the line of command. So you want to train your people to communicate realistically.
Yeah.
So the leaders can be cognitive as well then.
Yeah, correct. And I see ACI Global like a meditation center for businesses, right? It's
Yeah,
that
it's
it's
a good
like
way. Yeah.
tapping the organization like, oh wait, you have to take a pause, breathe, and
Yes,
try to assess everything first before you take action. And the
absolutely.
leaders in general must know the skill set of their people so they can also utilize on the strengths for the whole team to be successful. So looking ahead, Marcus, what role do you see cognitive thinking supported by things like Hogan profiling, CPD integration, and your capability framework playing in shaping resilient, future ready leaders who can
Yes.
thrive in uncertain environments?
As we see it, as I see it, cognitive thinking fosters future-ready leadership by
Uh-huh.
building cognitive complexity. And by that, that's enabling leaders to understand and adapt to varied, changing, nuanced situations, process information and take that information and process it effectively with an ability to make decisions, but to also make as sound a decision as they can in the situation and circumstance they happen to be in at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, not to make a decision, do something worried about persecution, which a lot of management systems do. So
Mm-hmm.
people are sooner not react to something because they'd sooner let it happen because they know on the spreadsheet they'll get persecuted if they do that.
Yeah.
So we've got a bigger system of persecution than a situation that takes into account reality, allowing for everything is uncertain
Yeah.
unless you're lucky and you're in just a predicted continual production line. Life is uncertain. You can't guarantee what tomorrow will really bring.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying, and build up with cognitive ability, mental agility in your team. That's not saying you want everyone to be a graduate, but you want them to use the mentality they have to best effect.
Yeah.
All right. And build the flexibility of the individual to feel that if they have a go at something, they're not going to be persecuted because they've tried something else.
Mm-hmm.
Then build the leaders to be able to take that individual's attempt at trying something. If it's not the right thing, build that leader to nicely go and have a chat with that person, coach them, ready for the next time.
Yeah.
So do corrective training and corrective action, not as a persecution event.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to allow your people to make mistakes, but to
For
make
them to
mistakes
learn.
because they have a go at something that's logical.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a massive behavior change to a lot of leadership because we were lucky in our early days in the military where we were out on operations and we were able, if we got blown up or shot at, you learned for the next situation because you weren't dead. Business isn't like that because it's not happening in that environment, but the generic way of training circumstance and environment to build the intuitive and cognitive development behavior in the person
Mm-hmm.
allows them then to live in change and live in circumstantial change. So strategies allow the team to be on the fly, learn from setbacks, and cultivate a culture of innovation within those teams, transforming challenges into opportunities to learn more,
Uh-huh.
grow, and ensuring long-term, I guess, organizational sustainability.
Yeah,
And it's that sort of capability we want to help organizations build. And it's not an instant fix. It doesn't happen overnight.
for sure. Takes a
It's
lot of effort.
it takes a lot of effort, but also a lot of assurance
Mhm.
and building a sense of leadership, being able to be support and assure its team as a proper leader,
Yeah, and an
not not
assurance that
not
the effort won't go to waste
yes,
because
yes,
of structure.
and we always used to say, I've got to be able to give my team permission to have a go at something,
Mm-hmm.
not think whether they should do it or not because they might get beaten up by the boss.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, literally for the last 20 odd years with businesses, we've gone more to reporting on IT systems too much
Mm-hmm.
rather than continual assessment of people, continual understanding of how they're going, continual understanding, and then updating the records afterwards.
Uh-huh.
So we need to get leaders who are engaged and having a coffee chat with their people on a regular basis,
Mm-hmm.
not having a formal one, and then that leader able to and have the recognition and cognition to go and have a casual chat.
Yeah.
I know a couple of very famous people. One of them, the person would, they get thrown things all the time as to what they should do. That famous person used to walk down the corridor and have a chat with one of the cleaners who was sweeping the floor every day.
Uh-huh.
And if that cleaner didn't like what he said, he'd then take that decision back through to the senior management. Wouldn't say that it
Okay.
was the cleaner who had told him, but he knew that person was cognitive enough to give a logical comment about
Mm-hmm.
the issue he had. So people need to have um, associated reference points
Uh-huh. Different point of
that
view.
they can bounce an idea off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if as a leader or as a team member, if you can bounce an idea off someone, and when we were selling to organizations,
Mm-hmm.
I've taught people this, you've got to find the fox in the organization. So that might be the CEO
Uh-huh.
or the brigadier in the army.
Mm-hmm.
But that brigadier, once you find out that he'll always casually go and talk to that sergeant over here, you need to make sure that sergeant over there knows you as well.
Right.
And so
Right.
we call those people the foxes. They're the indirects, the
Uh-huh.
cognitive behavior of knowing who the indirect influences are,
Mm-hmm.
is a vital skill to build up. And it's a human skill because people listen to idle chat.
Yeah.
And
And have
they
different
may
point of view.
it's a totally unrelated point of view, but that person who's maybe very successful
Mm-hmm.
might just always bounce an idea off that person.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like you're
So
saying cognitive thinking is the bridge between competence and resilience, Marcus, that feels more
yes, yes.
important than ever right now. It's the actual foundation for leadership in the future, I'm sure.
It's human leadership.
Mm-hmm.
If I think leadership is sitting on an IT system or on a filing cabinet with spreadsheets in or just doing those documents, then as a leader and director, I'm totally wrong. It's the ability to provide cognitive awareness, hear everything, filter in your own mind. And just because someone has certificates, that doesn't mean today they're competent in what they're doing. So then have a culture of reality checking on capability levels that change all the time in your organization. And that's just something you have to really be accepting of. You can't have a perfect organization as continual all of the time. And so, if as a leader you're conscious, and as a team leader, as a CEO, you're conscious of continuous process improvement, it's not continuous, always up the slide. It's corrective action that brings you back onto a layer of needed performance.
Yeah.
that you're competent in that environment, and your team are as well. And the fact that they're not at 100%, that's not an issue. You want to know if they're about 60% plus.
Wow.
Because if you think humans can be at 80% and 90%, you're dreaming. Human isn't that sort of person.
Well,
and it's knowing and having that that flexibility, and again, like cognitive understanding that the human mix. And I'll give complexity. Complexity is a classic thing. We live in a world of complexity that we have to be cognitive of. Now, complexity, the way as a youngster I was trained to work out information coming at me. I remember being given a headset with 8 circuits on the headset.
Okay.
And I was given a brief of what the person here wanted me to interpret. And then I was left with the 8 circuits screaming at me. Every time I heard the thing that person wanted, I passed on the message. But I was the cognitive interface with a set 8 radio circuits, me passing by my cognition and my intuition and the briefing I'd been given to use requirement, briefing, cognition, listening and seeing, and recognition in what I passed on.
Yeah.
And so in a human, that's very typical of what humans need to be nurtured to actually develop. Right. And that's based on scenario, environment, and situation. So the cognitive behavior relative to a day-to-day environment or scenario. Cognitive behavior based on an explosive, destructive environment, unforeseen. So the emergency services, people like that. It's a different cognitive behavior.
Right.
A factory worker that does the same process every day.
Yeah.
They are looking for quality variances in the production line. They may have a reaction to a sudden change of how that production line plays.
Well,
the emergency type worker is used to finding disaster. They will be more bored with the day-to-day boring stuff. So their cognition varies based on what they're trained to play in. And so training and leadership and how do you build the right cognitive levels for situation and environment is also, so adaptive leadership is a classic term, and the mental agility to go with the flow, and recognize what the flow is.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you don't see the flow, you can't move with it. So I think there's also the people want to know you as a team leader, that you're providing safety for them, collective intelligence, so they can actually share and not feel persecuted. And then the concept that your continuous growth and continuous management is just a thing of life. Things change. Nothing's assured. And then the ability to have you be able to take part in the business, add information, feel that you're trusted for contributing. And even if the information is not really, if a leader doesn't say, look, thank you, Tim, that was great, thanks a lot. The fact that it wasn't 200 million over here doesn't matter. The fact it was $10 down here, the fact that it contributed and helped is something that a leader needs to just say nicely, thank you.
Acknowledge.
And let that person feel they're trusted to be part of that engagement. And cognitive behavior. Leaders need to be cognizant of the behavior of people.
Yeah. And
also, if they stuff up, need to have the courage and understanding and recognition that they have stuffed up, and go back to the team and say, look, sorry, I totally stuffed that. Can we sit down and have a chat and you teach me how I should better play this? And if that ability, that cognitive behavior is there, then obviously there's a better engagement by the whole team after that.
I think one of the biggest takeaways for me and hopefully for everyone tuning in right now is that developing people is more than just adding more training. It's about strengthening how they actually think. Using tools
Yep.
like Hogan profiling, your 360-degree feedback, and structured CPD pathways that tie their growth directly to organizational capability. And I think this helps them use various tools in any situation. As you've said, they have to be adaptive as well, and they have to really critically think, especially when things get unpredictable. So thank you so much for joining us today, Marcus, and for stepping in while Ian's away.
Thank you, Miles. No, no, we're on next week as well, I think, aren't we? Yes.
Yes, two more episodes with you. I'm really excited for the next one. So I'll see you
Thank you.
again. Okay.
Thanks, Miles. See
Thank
you
you.
later.
So, see you. To our audience, if today's chat with Marcus has you thinking about how to unlock greater potential in your team, you can reach out to their team at aciglobal.com.au. They've got world-class programs designed to help individuals and organizations meet today's standards and get ready for tomorrow's challenges. And that's it for today's episode. Thank you guys for staying with us. Until next time, this has been your host, Miles. Stay focused and inspired with X Raised.